Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Staff Sergeant Justice Mackenzie. I'm the music arranger and social media manager for the United States Air Force Band of the West. And thank you so much for joining us for this feature presentation of the Band of the West. I'm very excited to present your musical tour guides for tonight's program, Mission Wins, our Clarinet Quartet. Guys, why don't you just give us a wave in your box when I introduce you by name? Up in the top left is Airman First Class James Campbell. Now you can wave. Good job. Top right, Technical Sergeant Denise Cardona Santos. On the bottom left, Airman First Class Ben Hughes. And on your bottom right, Staff Sergeant Michele Von Haugg. We have an extremely exciting program planned for you. It's going to feature a couple different ensembles and even an appearance by a foreign military band. It's going to be a really exciting evening. I want to remind y'all that we have a live interactive chat going right now here on YouTube. So sound off, let us know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions about anything you're seeing throughout the course of the evening, I encourage you to put those questions and comments right there in the chat because our musicians are here to engage with you. I'm now going to throw it to the non-commissioned officer in charge of Mission Wins, Sergeant Cardona Santos. Take it away.
Okay, well, good evening. I definitely don't have the powerful voice that Sergeant Mackenzie has. So, and I do have a strong accent, so bear with me. So yes, I'm the non-commissioned officer in charge of this group, which means I'm in charge of the group. And I tell them what to do, but in reality, that's not the case because we all chip in and we all help each other succeed in our mission. So let me tell you a little bit of what's going to happen today. Later on, we're going to be introducing ourselves individually. Hopefully, we're going to actually share some of our work that we've been doing during this pandemic, because when the pandemic started happening, we had to kind of switch and pivot to a more studio musician kind of setup. And we really would like to share with you the work that we've been doing lately. We also want to talk about partnerships. We want to talk about our mission. And normally we set up our program according to our audiences. But this is the first time that we're doing something like this where we have audience, all kinds of audience, students, teachers, veterans. So hopefully today we get to connect with the civilian community. We also can honor those who have served and are serving, and maybe you never know, maybe we can inspire some young folks to join the Air Force as musicians. You never know. So without any further ado, let's start. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Staff Sergeant Michele Von Haugg. I'm really excited to be with you East Coasters tonight. I'm an East Coaster myself, but not from sunny state of Florida. I'm from the cold state of New York. I grew up there in a small town, a small farming community called Eastburn. And then after high school, I decided to pursue music. I did my undergraduate degree in K through 12 music education at Ithaca College, and then later did my master's degree in clarinet performance at the New England Conservatory in Boston, Massachusetts. And then many years later, I found myself here with you in half my dining room, half my living room during this wild, crazy pandemic, trying to find a way to continue reaching out, performing, doing what we do for the Air Force, and doing it with all of you in a safe way. For the Band of the West, I am both a clarinet with Mission Winds here and the concert band, but I'm also the auditions coordinator. And a little bit later, we'll be talking about how to win a job with the Air Force bands, or where you can even find out what vacancies we have. So even though we're going to talk about that later, please go ahead, check out our website, music.mil, and if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat, and we are here to answer all of your questions tonight. So we do hope to hear more from you during this presentation. But without further ado, I'd like to musically introduce myself. Before the pandemic started, I had the great opportunity to perform Vaughan Williams arrangements. I did the first of the 6 studies in English folk song. Our pianist at the Band of the West, Ed Knoeckel. So I do hope you enjoy this piece. I just love how it uses the lower Chalumeau region of the clarinet and how that melds together so nicely with the piano. Makes my heart feel good being stuck at home during times like this. So I hope you enjoy it.
All right, that was some beautiful playing by Staff Sergeant Von Haugg. Thanks so much for that beautiful piece by Ray Vaughan Williams. I want to take a second and shout out to some of our awesome viewers who are following along with us in YouTube right now, following along in the chat. We've got Ann watching from Austin, Texas, may have a personal connection to one of our clarinet players with us today. We've got Rebecca watching in North Florida. Thanks so much for tuning in, Rebecca. Jan is in Tampa. We have a very special guest, Master Sergeant retired Mark Craig. He's a former clarinet player in the Band of the West, as well as Chief Master Sergeant retired Craig Ledoux, a former career field manager for the Air Force bands. Thanks so much for joining us, former Air Force bands alumni. It's great to feel your support here. Now, you might have heard our clarinet players letting you know that we're reaching out to folks in Florida tonight, and that's true. You can see that we're coming to you from our homes here in San Antonio, Texas, and we've been putting on this live stream series as a way to reach out to folks in our touring area during the pandemic. And while we welcome everybody who's watching from all over the world tonight, we're especially excited to welcome those people watching us from Florida. So we've got a great question from Rebecca. And she wants to know how many years did each of you play before joining the Air Force Band. So can I have y'all go, let's go around the room, so to speak. Jim, how many years did you play before joining?
So I'm thinking about 20. I
20
started when I was
years.
27.
And Sergeant Cardona Santos, what do you think?
I actually started pretty late. I started kind of in high school, so probably 8 years before I actually was able to join the conservatory in Puerto Rico.
Okay, 8 years. And Airman Hughes.
I think I was my 10th year of playing when I won the audition.
Nice. And Sergeant Von Haugg?
Well, I started in the 5th grade and I'm 43 years old now. So however many years that is.
We'll leave that up to the deduction skills of our audiences. Well, we've got a special treat for you that is going to harken to the upcoming holiday season, if I'm not mistaken. Airman Campbell, you want to tell us about what's coming up next?
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Airman James Campbell. I'm excited to be here with all of you today. It's been a long time since I don't see you, but I think we're all together in a certain way. So I originally hail from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I got my master's degree. I grew up there till I was about 18, and then I went to go do my undergraduate at Temple University. I got both of my degrees, well, 3 of my degrees in clarinet performance, and I loved it. It was an amazing experience. But it is my pleasure to introduce to you the next piece, which is Klezmer Freylock by Jora Feynman. For those of you who don't know about Klezmer, Klezmer is a traditional Yiddish folk music that is mostly related to the Jewish faith. The most it's ever used for is celebratory music, where you would have weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, anytime there's a party, really. If there's a party going on, you're gonna have some klezmer music going on. It's usually a chamber music kind of setup where the clarinet is the main focus. Now, there's other instruments that can be prominent in klezmer music, but clarinet is one of the main instruments because of its flexibility. You'll notice when you hear this next piece, all the scoops, dips, growls, various extended techniques that we use in order to make it sound extra party-like. So this next piece is called Klezmer Freylock. So it's a dance, but you might not realize it's a dance in the very beginning because it's a little bit slow, but just wait and the party will start. But besides that, since we've been in the pandemic, we've been having to record a bunch of different types of music. The job has been keeping us very busy. Luckily, I also run the Twitter page, so be sure to go and follow Twitter at USAF Band of the West on Twitter. So please do that. I would appreciate it. But yeah, so the klezmer piece is a wonderful piece for keeping me motivated because I just love klezmer. Klezmer is one of my favorite genres. So without any further ado, Klezmer Freylock by Jora Feynman.
That was super exciting. I know I couldn't keep myself from dancing along in my chair. Great playing from Mission Winds there. Want to give a shout out to another few very special people watching that we're hearing from in the chat. We have Justin watching from Philadelphia. Thanks for tuning in, Justin. We have another Band of the West alum, a former senior airman, now musician, first class, Michael Steiger. He's a trombone player with the Navy Band in Washington, D.C. now. Hey, we also have, y'all might see a comment there from someone called D. Doyle. Folks, that's Major Dustin Doyle, and he's our boss. He's the commander of the Air Force Band of the West. So if you like what you're hearing and seeing tonight, make sure you're sounding off in the comments. Let him know that you're enjoying the show, and we'll be back with more of these. Make sure you hit like on this video and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And newly, the Air Force Band of the West is on Discord. You can find links to all of those social media platforms in the video description. We've got another great question. This question comes from Indiana, and Indiana's watching from North Florida, somewhat confusingly. Indiana wants to know, what is the most memorable performance you've played? And I'm going to throw that one to Airman Hughes.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I actually got in the Air Force about a year ago, and then the pandemic hit soon after that. So I haven't had that many Air Force performances. So I'm just going to use one that I did in college. I went to University of Texas at Austin. And while I was there, I got to play under the conductor, Jerry Junkin, who is very famous in the band world. He's absolutely amazing conductor. And we got to go to the College Band Directors National Association Conference in Kansas City. And we did a whole tour, premiered 3 new pieces, I believe, and did a piece, the Corleano Clarinet Concerto with my professor, Jonathan Gunn. And just the most amazing concert I've ever been a part of, especially getting to hear my own professor play the hardest clarinet concerto there is, and playing it spectacularly. It's a great question. Keep asking more questions. That's my favorite part of these, is can answer all y'all's questions. So I'll move on, introduce myself a little bit. As I mentioned, I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I do hail from Texas originally, or not originally. I moved here when I was very young. I grew up in the Dallas area, in Frisco, if any of y'all are familiar. I went to UT, got my bachelor's there. In my senior year, my wife had, who's also in the band, Airman First Class Jessica Hughes, had won an audition, and that made me think, oh, I should take an audition with the Air Force bands, because being married musicians can be difficult to find a similar job. And thankfully I won the job, and I got here as quick as I could back in September of last year. So that's my little story. And next up, you're going to hear something that we do every year for the Texas high school students who are musicians. It's called the Texas Music Educators Association, the all-state process. So in Texas, as in lots of states, there's an all-state, kind of an all-state or all-region districts process where students compete basically to be named the best in the state or one of the best in the state. So in Texas, at least, I'm very familiar with this, having grown up doing this. You kind of start at district level, go up to regional area, and you just keep having to compete with the top few people in the area, and you go up to state eventually, and you have to audition on these etudes. So every year we put out these etudes for all the musicians to use, every instrument. So I did the etudes this year, and we just wanted to feature that as part of the way we try to connect with our audiences and inspire the next generation of musicians and show them what playing at a professional level really means. So I hope you enjoy this next etude.
Some fantastic playing there from Airman First Class Ben Hughes. That was part of a resource that the Band of the West creates each year for high school students here in our home state of Texas as they prepare for their all-state audition process. We love being a part of our community. We love giving back and hopefully inspiring some of the youth of America to consider a career in the world's greatest Air Force. We've got another fantastic question, comes to us in a direct message. This question's from Samuel, and Samuel is watching in Lakeland, Florida, and wants to know, mission wins, what is your favorite instrument other than the clarinet? So, Airman Campbell, what's your favorite?
Trumpet.
Trumpet, good answer. You want to tell them why it's trumpet, or your connection to trumpet?
Sure. My dad is a trumpet professor at University of Michigan. Yeah.
That makes it a good answer. Airman Hughes, how about you?
I'm gonna go with trombone and played in a trombone choir.
Oh, okay. Dark horse candidate. Haven't heard a lot of trombone recently. Sergeant Von Haugg?
I'm going to say piano because I love having control over both the melody and the harmony.
That is an excellent choice. And yeah, Sergeant Cardona, what do you think? Your favorite instrument other than clarinet?
I am a closeted French horn player. I love soundtracks. So yeah, French horn
Yeah,
is
well,
my secret.
nothing will get the heart racing like a good French horn soundtrack, for sure. Well, Sergeant Cardona, why don't you tell us about what we're going to be hearing next?
Actually, the next piece is really cool piece. We had the opportunity to partner with the Air Force Band in Peru. Later on, I will speak a little bit more about that project because it was a total of 2 different projects. But first of all, I would like to introduce myself a little bit, real quick. My name is Denise Cardona Santos. I am from Aguas Buenas, Puerto Rico. Aguas Buenas means in English, good waters. Hopefully they're still good. I come from a very tiny town in the middle of the island, and I went to the Conservatory of Music in Puerto Rico. I graduated with a bachelor's degree, and then after graduating from the conservatory, I was a lifeguard for quite some time, and I was deciding if I was going to become a performer or a teacher, and performing is what I love to do. Teaching is not my forte, and I have a strong. I admire teachers because that's a job that I don't think I could do very well. But so yeah, performing was my passion, and I was lucky enough to win an audition for the Air Force Bands, and here I am. When I joined, I didn't speak English, and it was very difficult to start. But then I realized how amazing the military is when it comes to diversity. And I felt actually like I was in this huge, diverse family. Everybody was from everywhere. Everybody had an accent, and I actually felt like I belonged right away. And that's one of the things that we do very well. We embrace diversity. Like we just performed in a Jewish faith Klezmer rhythm that represents the Jewish faith, and now we want to embrace the Latin community by this really cool Latin piece from a composer in Peru, and it's actually performed by the Peruvian jazz band. So I hope you enjoyed this little duet, and yeah, hope you enjoy it.
All right, love that song. It was a great performance by Technical Sergeant Denise Cardona Santos and the Peruvian Air Force Band. There was one other Air Force uniform in there. That was Technical Sergeant Freddie Cruz, who is a percussionist at one of our sister bands, the Air Force Band of the Pacific in Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii. Really fun song there. I want to reach back to our comments real quick. Jan wants to know how many instruments we all play. And notes that she's been at some of our Band of the West concerts actually in Tampa, which is awesome. Thanks so much for coming out to those live concerts and for tuning in tonight. We can't wait until we're able to perform for you live again. Now, if I had to guess, y'all each play E flat clarinet, B flat clarinet, bass clarinet. I don't know, does A clarinet count? Y'all play a bunch of clarinets, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. As a music arranger, my primary instrument was tuba. At one point, I played a lot of trombone. And of course, my job requires some piano proficiency. So, I mean, a few. Any of y'all play any instruments other than clarinet? Yes?
I did play the tenor sax in the jazz band for a while. And I played percussion, specifically Latin percussion.
That's right. Yeah. You've been featured as a percussionist on several of our concerts, haven't you? And Jim,
Yeah.
you play something else?
I can play sax too, tenor sax.
Nice. What is like tenor sax the easy one or something? I guess it's also in B flat, right?
B flat.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We love hearing from you guys in the comment section, so keep it up. Let us know what you think about each and every one of these videos. And again, make sure you're subscribed to us here on YouTube. We have a fantastic holiday production coming up. It's huge. We've partnered with our local PBS affiliate to do the videography. We're going to have songs from other Air Force bands, not just the Band of the West. And it is a massive production that we are just in the final stages of putting together. And that's going to air right here on our YouTube channel Saturday, December 19th. So make sure you're subscribed because that is a show you do not want to miss. One more question from the comments comes from Indiana. Again, wants to know if you have any advice for a clarinet player who started playing later than his peers. And Sergeant Cardona, I know you said you started later than your peers, so maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Actually, that's a great question because I was struggling when I decided to start thinking in becoming a serious clarinetist. It was difficult for me to make the decision because of that same fear that I was starting way too late. And actually, it's never too late. It's actually never too late. As long as what I will say, listen to music. You will be surprised how many musicians out there sometimes don't listen to music that much. Just find a clarinetist that speaks to you and just listen constantly. Classical music helps a lot. And it's just never too late. Although I did sacrifice a lot. I was literally in the practice room practically all day. I sacrificed my lunchtime in high school to go to the band hall and practice. And not only that, find yourself a good teacher, but I mean a clarinetist teacher that guides you right away, because I do understand there are teachers out there that do a great job, band teachers. But when it comes to this, if you started a little bit late, I would suggest you to find someone to specialize in instrument. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your insights there. You want to talk a little bit about what we're gonna hear next?
Yes, actually, I wanted to speak to you about how the U.S. Air Force supports partners and establish long-term, mutually beneficial relationships through exercises, training, professional military education, information exchanges, and cooperative agreements. And these relationships are what allows us to succeed and distinguish us from our competitors. And for us, the U.S. Air Force bands partnerships is actually a very easy thing to accomplish because we have the ability to communicate through the universal language, which is music. I had the opportunity to perform with other clarinet quartets from countries that I didn't even speak the language. And I remember going into a rehearsal with 4 clarinetists, and we couldn't communicate with each other. But the moment that we would start playing the music in front of us, we will start communicating automatically. So we have that power. And recently, like you guys just saw in the previous video, we had the opportunity to partner with the Peruvian Air Force. And not only that, right after that project, they actually contacted us again because they were close to celebrate their Air Force anniversary, 91st anniversary. And we were honored to be part of a project to celebrate their anniversary. And they came up with this arrangement for clarinet quintet and a soprano to the arrangement of the Air Force Peruvian song. And I think it worked out pretty well. And not only that, we are showcasing also the E-flat clarinet performed by Airman Hughes. That's the scary one. None of us likes to play that much, but Airman Hughes just jumped in and got the mission done and did a great job. And not also that, we had a soprano from Peru that actually did a great job. So hopefully you enjoy the Air Force, Peruvian Air Force song.
A fantastic representation of international partnerships that the United States Air Force creates and maintains all over the world. And we're so proud to be a part of that international partnership musically with our friends in the Peruvian Air Force Band. Fantastic question from Annette, who's watching in Hudson, Florida. Welcome, Annette. She wants to know, how did we record all these videos? Since there's a pandemic, aren't we supposed to, not be in the same room, and aren't we supposed to not especially be playing wind instruments together? Airman Hughes, you want to explain our recording process?
Absolutely. So I'm the one that's actually mixed almost all of our quartet's videos, and I've made most of the videos as well. So I'm very familiar with this process. So what we do is I'll create a click track so that we record with headphones in, so we can have a metronome going as we're recording. So we make sure everything's perfectly synced up. And at the very beginning of the pandemic, I would send that click track to the bass clarinet, and whoever was playing bass on that would record first and send it back to me. I'd line it up with, make sure everything that sounds good, send it up to the next person, and so on up to the first clarinet. As we've gotten further along, we've been able to develop safe procedures so that we can sometimes go into our building on bass and record. We have a large concert band room, so we can be in like the different four corners of it with plexiglass between us, or we can record in separate rooms that we have and mix it together that way. And then I'll mix the audio, send it back to everyone, then we record video. I think almost all these videos you've seen so far is us kind of individually at our own home. So then I'll put all those together into video. And then occasionally we've been able to safely, such as in the Klezmer, actually go to, somewhere and fake play. So we're not actually playing while when we're doing that. So we're spreading our breath everywhere and record that way. So we've been able to get it done safely in a few different ways. And if you've got I have a very basic knowledge in those things. So if it's a little bit of knowledge, it's actually very easy to put these things together. And I'll throw it over to Sergeant Cardona to introduce our next piece.
So thank you so much for those questions, and keep commenting below. Keep asking your questions. We're more than happy to address those as we go on this virtual concert. So the next piece, I want to take the time to brag about my colleagues. For those of you who are not very familiar with what we do as musicians in the military, we belong to a bigger organization named the Band of the West, stationed at Lackland Air Force Base, and we do have an area of responsibility to cover through the year. Normally we would be traveling to, in this case, Florida, and performing for schools, universities, and performing outreach concerts free of cost for the community. But obviously we had to switch and do a more a virtual way of performing to keep everybody safe, obviously. So I would like to showcase our jazz band. Because like I mentioned, we're part of a bigger organization. So we're not only the Clarinet Quartet, we also have a concert band, we have a jazz band, and we have a brass quintet. And I wanted to take the opportunity to showcase their work also. So I hope you enjoy this piece by our jazz band.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Grace, my fears relieved. Precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already am found. Was blind, but now I see. I'm making
That was Dimensions in Blue, featuring Airman First Class Leah Fox on vocals. That fantastic performance of Amazing Grace, arranged by Eric Richards, first aired on our 4th of July program, and it has since become one of our absolute favorites. We've gotten another little bit of feedback from our direct messages and it's a great idea. We should hear some more of our most memorable performances from those of us who've been in the Air Force for a little while longer. And I know for me personally, I think my most memorable performance was when the Band of the West had the great honor to perform for the state funeral for President George H.W. Bush, which is about 2 years ago now. That's the number one mission of the Air Force bands. You know, everything stops for the state funeral plan. And we were actually on tour in Oklahoma for our holiday shows. We had to be recalled straight away off that tour, get straight to Houston to prepare, start rehearsing with the honor guard. And it was days and days and days of rehearsals to prepare for the state funeral for former President Bush. It was such an incredible honor to be a part of that performance. And another extremely notable feather in the cap of the Air Force bands. So we were all so honored to be a part of that. Sergeant Cardona, maybe there's something that you'd like to share from your career, which has even been a little bit longer than mine.
Probably. I've been in the Air Force for 15 years. And I was stationed in Germany for 3 years. And Germany was a very special station for me because I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I was going to see so many countries. And it was a very memorable assignment. And one very special performance that we had, actually, this is a story from a senior NCO in Germany that is a really good friend of mine. When we went to Dresden, a city in Germany that was unfortunately bombed really aggressively during World War II. And the people were not very welcoming of us there. And he was talking about how the performance went. And the performance was, at the beginning, people were a little bit withdrawn from the musicians and on stage, but little by little, we started winning their trust. And at the end of the performance, he remembers seeing this very old lady in the front line, barely trying to get up to give us a standing ovation. And then at the end of the concert, she came backstage and spoke to him through her daughter that was translating. And she told him, our senior NCO, told him that she was a survival of that time. And she told him that she was finally feeling that she could forgive. And to me, when I hear that story, it's very special on how powerful and how much music can heal wounds, and the power of healing that music really has. So I think that's one of the most memorable performances I've ever done. And not to mention when I went to Puerto Rico and performed in blues for my people. And it was a really cool experience, actually. So hopefully that answers the question. So
yeah, totally love hearing the stories. And as Anne points out, in Austin, Texas, this is such a great format for our fans and followers to get to know all of your stories from your Air Force careers more intimately. And it's awesome to hear about things that happened before even you were at the Band of the West, or before this current tour of duty at the Band of the West, I guess I should say, Denise. So thanks so much for sharing your story. Rebecca wants to know, how often do you practice alone at home and for how long? And for that one, I'm going to throw it to Sergeant Von Haugg.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, that all depends. I'd say an average practice day is 2 to 3 hours a day, and that will include exercise time during a warm-up period, and then plenty of time to learn whatever repetition is coming up for us as clarinet players in the Band of the West. It would be either concert band or mission winds, or one of our wind quintets. We have 2 of them in the Band of the West. So at least 2 to 3 hours a day.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking that question from Rebecca. Rebecca, thanks so much for chiming in the chat. Michelle, maybe you want to take a second and tell us about the really cool video we're about to see.
Oh, absolutely. So I mentioned earlier that I'm the auditions coordinator for the Band of the, actually, I'm one of the auditions coordinators for the Air Force regional bands. So I wanted to put a little bit of a plug in here for our job for any of you out there who might be interested in being a musician airman. So for those of you who aren't active performing musicians out there or looking for a gig doing that, you might be wondering what is it exactly that we do in the Air Force? Meaning, are we just musicians or do we do other jobs as well? Well, the answer is we are 100% musicians. And that story that Sergeant Cardona Santos told you about from her time in the Europe Band is that we are musician diplomats. We are a very, very small percentage of the Air Force. In fact, we represent less than 0.5% of all the personnel in the Air Force. And our job is to use music internationally as a way to help build bridges and help further the mission of the United States Air Force. So we are a very small piece of the Air Force, but it is actually quite, we are a very highly educated branch segment of the Air Force. More than 90% of us have bachelor's degrees, more than 50% of us have master's degrees, and a great degree of us have actually doctorates in musical arts. So it is a very competitive job, but let me tell you, it is worth the work to get here, to be able to have these experiences that everyone talked about here tonight, and the experiences that you'll be able to see in the last video we'll be showing in this program. But before we go to that video, I'm wondering if Sergeant Mackenzie would mind sharing with the audience our Air Force Band's website. We have a wonderful, comprehensive website that includes not just the Air Force regional bands, which we are in the Band of the West, but it includes the Air National Guard bands and the Premier bands as well. We have 5 Air National Guard bands in the United States, 2 Premier bands, 6 regional bands in the United States, and 3 regional bands overseas. And on this website, you can see everything here. You can engage with any of our bands on here through any of these links. But since I'm the auditions coordinator and we do have some vacancies, I'm going to ask Sergeant Mackenzie to go ahead and go to that auditions link there. So in the Air Force regional bands during this pandemic, unfortunately, we haven't been able to have auditions, and therefore we have a number of vacancies, an unusually high number of vacancies. So this is a great time if you're interested in a great job with financial benefits, 20 years until retirement, health benefits for you and your family. This is a great time to be considering this job. As Sergeant Mackenzie scrolls down there, you can see all of those vacancies there in both the regional bands and the Premier bands. All of the information can be found there if you are interested. And you, of course, can always write to us. You can email us directly at the Band of the West auditions@gmail, or you can ask questions in this chat feed at any time, even after this performance ends. We will certainly get back to you and answer any of your questions. So we have one final fantastic video to show you. This one was done a few years ago by the Air Force Public Affairs folks out of Washington, D.C., and they put together this really fantastic product that shows how exactly, very precisely, how we in the Air Force bands are musician diplomats. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. We'll see you at the end of this video, but I think you'll really, really enjoy this.
Hey, sorry folks, we guess we have a bit of a technical difficulty with that video detailing the mission of the Air Force bands, especially in the overseas environment. We're gonna link that video. It exists on YouTube on its own, so we're gonna link that here in the video chat in just a second, because it is a really, really important video for us as a career field, as it explains the the seminal importance of what we do overseas and our international partnerships. I want to get one more question in while we're waiting for that link. Aiden is watching in Homestead and wants to know, this is a fantastic question, when will we be back in Florida? Maybe Sergeant Von Haugg, could you talk about that?
Oh gosh, when will we be back in Florida? We wish we were there right now at this very moment. It's so much more fun to be there with you. We don't deal with any of these technical difficulties. So, well, we don't have a specific answer for that. It is going to be when it's safe to be there. And hopefully that is sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I definitely can't wait until we're performing for live audiences again. And I'm just the music arranger. I'm not even one of the ones who's usually on stage. One more question while we're waiting. Nadia is watching in Mobile, Alabama. Hello, Nadia. Nadia wants to know, who's the most famous person you've ever played for? Let's start with you, Airman Campbell.
Shoot, I've ever played for. I don't know, not off the top of my head. I played at a masterclass where Yo-Yo Ma was there. That's pretty famous, I guess.
I don't know if I've played for anyone famous to the general public. There's some several famous composers I've played for, but not anyone generally famous.
Yes, I actually performed one time, but this wasn't in the Air Force though, and it was actually a surprise. I was asked to perform with my Clarinet Quartet in the conservatory for a special event, because one kind of famous person was going to donate a bunch of instruments to music schools in Puerto Rico. So they asked us to go and represent the conservatory. And when we were performing, he was standing behind us, and everybody's like was screaming. I'm like, who is behind us? And when I turned around, it was Ricky Martin. Do you guys know Ricky Martin? The guy that sings "Living La Vida." So yes, he was donating tons of instruments for all the music schools in Puerto Rico. So I guess that was one of the people that are famous that I have performed with. In the Air Force, I actually had Winona Judd perform with her with the Air Force band, and a few others actually that I don't remember right now.
Well, definitely tons of opportunities in the Air Force bands, and as a musician, sort of generally, to perform for Lots of famous people. So thanks for your question, Nadia. We just got one more video. That link to the Air Force Band's mission video is now in the chat, so I encourage you to check that out as soon as you can. We've got one more video that we want to show you because we have a very special project going on right now in conjunction with our big holiday concert. That project is called the Troop Tree, and the Troop Tree usually would be a physical tree outside our concert hall at our live in-person concert. And at that on that tree, we would be asking people to fill out Christmas cards or holiday cards for deployed troops who will be deployed and away from their home and their families through the holiday season. And so we're trying to fulfill that need virtually without having a real tree and real in-person concert. And I want to show you this video for instructions on how you can participate.
Hey everybody, we need your help in supporting and encouraging our troops. I'm Airman First Class Brendan Malloy with the United States Air Force Band of the West at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas. The past couple of years, we've asked those attending our Holiday in Blue concerts to fill out cards and place them on our tree to be sent to deployed troops serving during the holiday season. The response was incredible and inspiring. This year, our Holiday in Blue concert will be happening virtually, so we're asking you to send us your holiday well wishes for the troops. We're partnering with the wonderful charity supportourtroops.org to distribute your cards to deployed service members around the globe. Here's how you can help. Simply gather as many holiday greetings as you can and send them to the address on screen. Just write something positive, kind, respectful, and thankful to the brave men and women sacrificing their time this holiday season to protect our country. Submissions for all winter holidays are encouraged. This is a great project for schools, churches, civic organizations, and individuals alike. We look forward to receiving your cards and are thankful for your help in supporting our troops.
Once again, that's our Troop Tree project. We would love for you to participate and send your holiday cards to that address. If you need that address again, you can always pause the stream and rewind, or that video also lives here on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. The link to that is in the video description, so you can go catch our address and help us support the troops who will be deployed away from their families this holiday season. Well, folks, I've had a ton of fun being your host tonight for this feature presentation of the United States Air Force Band of the West. I'm going to throw it to Mission Wins one more time to wrap up. Mission Wins, the mic is yours.
Well, actually, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's a Saturday evening, and we really appreciate you taking some time to be with us virtually. And on behalf of our commander, Major Doyle, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get to see you soon. And hopefully we'll get to see all the students in Florida. And as soon as we are safe and healthy, and hopefully all of you stay healthy out there, we'll see you soon. So have a good evening. Thank you.